It is 9:21 on News Talk 820 WBAP. Well, we don't need to wonder anymore. All these emails I'm getting saying, Mark, do you think Kay Bailey would have voted differently if she weren't in the primary against Rick Perry? And I've said, I don't know. There's certainly a legacy, plenty of legacy there in her record to suggest that she would have voted this way anyway. There's certainly enough of a vibe in Republican land today to suggest that there's going to be a pretty strong Republican presence standing up for the Constitution. But why should I rail about this when we can ask her? It is a pleasure to welcome Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm good, Mark. How are you?
I am great. I can only presume that you felt, I don't know if it was just the combination of happiness and maybe even some relief, as yesterday you came out and said that you will join Senator Cornyn in respectfully and thoughtfully voting no on Judge Sotomayor. Give us the brief paragraph on why, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. The first and most important reason was I asked her questions when I was in the meeting with her about her view of the Second Amendment. I was the lead on a friend of the court brief to the Supreme Court in the Heller case, which was the first case that we have had really in 100 years in the Supreme Court that had the question, is the Second Amendment an individual right? Because many gun control people say, no, it's the right of a militia, not an individual right, which makes a big difference when cities or states try to curb the ability for someone to have a gun in their home. So we had the perfect case. I led the effort in Congress to file a brief saying it is an individual right and has always been. I then after this case came down on our side, that it is an individual right, it was a monumental case, Judge Sotomayor led and wrote an opinion in a Second Circuit case which refused to say that the individual right then meant that a state couldn't encroach on gun rights. When I asked her about that, she said she couldn't answer because she thought it might be an issue that would come before the Supreme Court.
Well, that's lovely cover. And I understand that it might well be. Your colleague, Senator Coburn of Oklahoma, asked her this directly in the Judiciary Committee hearings, and she did us the favor of hemming and hawing mightily, which should have scared the living daylights out of everyone who cares about the Second Amendment. Primary voters, whom you are very interested in, are going to be largely pleased about this. You instantly have to take a look, though, and ask, if you prevail in the primary, have you created something that your Democrat opponent can certainly come after you about?
Well, I called many of my supporters that are in the Hispanic community, leaders, to tell them why I had come to this decision. I respect her academic background and her life story, and I do. We all should. But when I talked about the Second Amendment, I even voted against Eric Holder for Attorney General, one of very few, on the same issue.
Well, thank you for that. That's been vindicated time and time again.
Is militia and not individual. So I voted against him. Remember, Mark, I also voted against Judge Sotomayor when she was nominated for the Circuit Court.
In 98, and that was a special crew of people who took a look at her as senators in 1998. Do you remember what the basis was at that time?
Well, it was the concern about judicial activism. She had been on the district court bench, and I was concerned about her making law from the bench, which she later said in a speech that she did believe that policy is made from the circuit court bench. Well, policy is made in Congress. It is made in state legislatures where people can elect or not elect someone after they have made a policy decision, not for a lifetime judicial appointment. But back to your question, I did call my Hispanic supporters and friends, and I got a very good reaction from most of them who agreed that philosophy and these concerns about making law from the bench were legitimate. Some were concerned, I have to say, and I respect that. There is an emotional feeling among some people that this was a historic time and that I should go the other way. But I understand how they felt. But I have, in my time in the Senate, 30% of the judges that I have put on the bench from Texas, federal judges, are Hispanic, because I believe that we should be promoting qualified Hispanics for the bench. I think that is a wonderful thing, and I have put my money where my mouth is on that. Same for African American leaders who are in the judicial community, who believe that you should interpret law, not make it from the bench. So that's my background and reasoning on this, and most of my Hispanic friends agreed. Even if they disagreed with me, they knew that I was being very respectful of her, which I am, but having to, come to this decision when I just did not feel comfortable on the Second Amendment.
Understand.
Taking law from the bench.
Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison with us. Speaking of things people are emotional about, are you feeling the vibe and maybe getting a phone call or an email or two from people about Obamacare, and where do you stand on that battle?
Oh, we're doing everything we can, Mark, to stop this government takeover of our healthcare system in its tracks. This is really, of all the things that have happened this year that I have disagreed with, which is every stimulus bill, which is the takeover of the auto industry, the takeover of the banking, housing industry, all those things are very bad. But taking our healthcare system and beginning to ration healthcare, which is what this proposal will do, to tax and fine our small business people if they don't offer health care, when we're not doing anything to give affordable options to them to offer to their employees. I just don't think it's right, and we're going to try to stop this bill. Now, do we need health care reform? Yes. Do we need to bring down the costs? Yes. Do we need to have positive proposals to do that? We do. But not this big tax, big government takeover that will close or limit service in hospitals. It will limit our doctor choices. There is just nothing that I can support in the present bill. That
is precisely what most of your voters want to hear, and that is a view that, boy, do we need that in the U.S. Senate. Last thing, how long are you going to be in the U.S. Senate? Is it possible that being there and fighting this fight is a kind of a distraction from what it seems like you're really focused on, and that's running for governor? What are your thoughts on when and whether to step down from the Senate and devote 100% to the Texas governor's mansion?
Well, I am trying to do everything that I can while I'm in office to responsibly serve as a senator. But it is hard because my heart is in Texas. There are so many things that I think we have not done in Texas that we need to do. I think we need new leadership in Texas. And so I am trying to determine when is the time when I have done everything I can do to stop this healthcare takeover, cap and trade, which is the next thing coming down that I think is going to be so bad for Texas. I'm trying to finish those things in a responsible way, and then I'm coming home to try to give leadership to Texas.
Is there no possibility, because you don't have to step down to run, but you surely will at some point? Is that where there's no possibility that you will remain a senator while running for governor throughout?
I just can't. As long as Governor Perry stays in the race, I had hoped that he wouldn't.
Well,
no one expected him to run again, and I thought I stepped back last time, Mark. I tried to give him a free ride with no primary because I thought it was right for Texas. But for him to try to stay on for 15 years is too long.
So you'll be coming out at some point. When do you think it's decision time for you? When would you like to? When might we know?
Well, I'm going to announce in August. Formal announcement, I am in. Then the actual leaving of the Senate will be sometime October, November, in that time frame.
Well, listen, it's a pleasure to have you. I think we'll be talking a lot, and I hope we will. You know where we are at all times, and thanks very, very much for all the Q&A today. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to talk to you.
You betcha. Take care. That is Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison.